The rain whispered against the windshield, blurring the streetlights into smears of gold on the black canvas of midnight. My Uber app pinged, another faceless pickup in the sleeping suburbs. The engine idled, a low, steady hum beneath the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of the wipers. Another Friday night ferryman moving ghosts from point A to point B. I yawned, stretching against the worn leather seat, the stale scent of old fries and air freshener hanging in the air. Then I heard it. Not the ping of another fare, a soft, rhythmic sound. Scritch, 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 like claws on fabric, coming from the back seat. My blood ran cold. The car had been empty when I parked. Absolutely empty. I'd checked. Adrenaline, sharp and metallic, flooded my mouth. Slowly, carefully, I tilted the rearview mirror. Darkness. Then, a flicker. Low, under the shadow of the passenger seat. 2 points of reflected light, catching the dim glow of the dashboard. Eyes, unblinking, watching me. My heart hammered against my ribs. I slammed the brakes, jerking the car to the curb. The sudden silence was deafening, broken only by the frantic drumming of rain and my own ragged breathing. Grabbing the heavy flashlight from the glove compartment, its beam felt unnaturally bright as I swung it towards the sound. The light landed on fur, ginger fur, matted and damp. Crouched low, pressed against the floorboard beneath the front passenger seat, was a cat. A surprisingly large ginger cat. Her fur was bristled, ears flat against its skull, but she didn't hiss, didn't lash out. She just stared back at me, those wide, green-gold eyes holding an unnerving intensity. Not fear, exactly. More like expectation. Like I was the one who'd walked into her plan. The faint, incongruous smells of distant wood smoke and something like baby powder drifted in the confined space. "Okay," I breathed, voice tight. "Where did you come from?" No collar, nothing, just those intelligent, unsettling eyes. I reached a tentative hand towards her. Instead of recoiling, the cat leaned forward just slightly and nudged my knuckles with a cool, damp nose. A soft, questioning "Miro" vibrated in the stillness. She wasn't asking for help. It felt like she was giving me instructions. I texted my wife, fingers fumbling. Have a stowaway. Ginger cat. No tags. Looks like she's seen things." Her reply was instant. "Do not touch her. Rabies. Call animal control." But the cat wasn't having any of that. When I opened the back door, letting the cold, wet night air rush in, she didn't bolt. She retreated further under the seat, fixing me with a look that clearly said, "We're not done here." Resigned, I pulled into the harsh fluorescence of an all-night gas station. Rain slicked the asphalt, reflecting the garish neon signs. Inside, under the bored gaze of the cashier, I bought the only cat-friendly thing I could find, a small can of tuna in spring water. The clink of coins felt absurdly loud. Back in the car, I popped the lid. The pungent smell filled the cabin. The cat emerged cautiously, sniffing the air. She ignored the tuna I placed carefully on the floor mat. Instead, she hopped lightly onto the passenger seat itself, settling down with surprising dignity, tucking her paws beneath her chest. She looked at me, then deliberately turned her head to stare straight ahead, down the rain-slicked highway leading out of town. Her tail gave one slow, deliberate flick. Drive. The absurdity was overwhelming. A hitchhiking cat with a destination? Yet something in her calm certainty was impossible to ignore. I pulled back onto the empty highway, the city lights shrinking in the rearview mirror. The cat watched the world blur past, seemingly content. For a while, the only sounds were the hypnotic drone of the tires on wet asphalt, the rhythmic swish of the wipers, and the cat's soft, rumbling purr vibrating through the seat. Peace settled, bizarrely. Maybe this was just a weird detour. Drop her at a shelter in the next town. Then I tried to exit. The sign for Milford glowed green in the rain. Instinctively, I signaled, starting to ease onto the off-ramp. The reaction was instantaneous. The cat leaped to its feet, fur instantly on end. A sharp, piercing yowl ripped through the car, startlingly loud and filled with unmistakable distress. It wasn't aggression. It was pure, frantic protest. She slammed its paw against the window, staring back at the fast-receding highway sign with wide, panicked eyes. Then she turned those eyes on me, yowling again, a sound that vibrated with urgency. Wrong way. Heart pounding again, I swerved back onto I-95. Immediately the cat settled. The yowl cut off, replaced by a low, satisfied murmur. She resumed her watchful position, gazing intently down the endless stretch of concrete lit by headlights and streaked with rain. She wasn't lost. She was navigating, using me. This cat had a destination, and it was 200 miles away. Dawn bled gray and cold into the sky, revealing a landscape of industrial outskirts and sprawling truck stops. The cat remained vigilant, only occasionally shifting position or taking a delicate sip of water from the cap I'd filled. At a rest stop clogged with rumbling semis, I scoured lost pet websites on my phone, filtering by ginger cats. Page after page of hopeful faces, none matching my passenger. Frustration mounted. Then, on a local news archive buried deep in the search results, a headline snagged my eye. Maple Street fire displaces 5 families. Dated just over a week ago. The address clicked, the neighborhood where I'd picked up my last fare before finding the cat. The article mentioned displaced residents, including a family with a young son and their beloved pet cat Sienna, lost during the chaotic evacuation. A ginger cat. My blood turned to ice. The smell. Wood smoke. Baby powder. It hadn't been random. The cat hadn't gotten lost. She had been left behind in the chaos, miles from its scattered family. They'd had to move on, believing her gone. Yet here she was, fur still streaked with the aftermath, like she'd hidden in the skeletal remains of her neighborhood until she found her chance to follow. The miles bled away, tension coiling tighter with each exit the cat forced me to bypass. Cities gave way to suburbs, then to quieter, tree-lined streets. The rain had stopped, replaced by weak afternoon sunlight filtering through clouds. My hands were slick on the wheel. The cat grew visibly more alert, shifting to the edge of the seat, nose pressed against the window, emitting soft, chirping sounds. We turned onto a peaceful cul-de-sac. Brightly painted houses, bikes discarded on lawns. The cat suddenly let out a sharp, trilling meow unlike any sound it had made before. Its tail stood straight up, quivering. "Which one?" I whispered, my throat tight. "Which one is home?" She pressed her paw insistently against the glass, staring fixedly at a house with a blue door and a bright red toy wagon overturned on the front walk. I pulled over, engine idling. This was it. Either the most incredible reunion or the most crushing anticlimax. I took a deep breath, the air suddenly thick and sweet with the scent of wet grass. The cat was practically vibrating now, a low, continuous purr rumbling like a tiny engine. I opened my door, but before I could move, the cat shot past me, a streak of damp ginger fur. She bounded up the front walk, leaped onto the small porch, and sat bolt upright before the blue door, tail curled neatly around her paws. She looked back at me once, those green gold eyes holding an ocean of patience and certainty. Then she lifted a paw and tapped, tap, tap, tap against the wooden door. A clear, deliberate knock. Time stopped. The world held its breath. The distant laughter of children playing seemed to fade away. Then, the unmistakable sound of a lock turning. The blue door creaked open. A boy stood there, maybe 7 years old. He was holding a half-eaten apple. He froze, his eyes widening, the apple forgotten in his hand. His gaze locked onto the cat sitting patiently on his welcome mat. His breath hitched. A tremor went through his small frame. When he spoke, it wasn't a shout. It was a whisper, fragile as glass, carrying a universe of disbelief and dawning, impossible joy straight to the porch, straight to the waiting cat, straight to my own stunned heart. "Mom?" he breathed, his voice cracking. He took one hesitant step forward. "Mom?" Sienna. Sienna came back. The cat, Sienna, didn't hesitate. In one fluid, graceful motion, she launched herself into the boy's arms. He stumbled back a step, wrapping his arms tightly around the bundle of wet fur, burying its head into his neck, purring so loudly I could hear it from the curb. The boy buried his face in Sienna's fur, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Then the boy's mother appeared in the doorway, her face a mask of shock that melted into pure tear-streaked wonder as she saw the cat clutched in her son's arms. Her hands flew to her mouth. No words came, just a choked sound of pure emotion. Later, sitting on their sun-drenched porch swing, glasses of iced tea sweating in the afternoon heat, the story spilled out. The fire, the panic, Sienna bolting in terror. Days of searching, flyers plastered everywhere, hope slowly dying. They'd moved across state lines for a fresh start, the ache of loss a constant companion. Sienna, they realized, must have hidden somewhere in the devastation. A collapsed garage, a neighbor's scorched shed, surviving on instinct and sheer will until she found her moment, her way back to her family, clinging to the memory of their scent. Sienna lay curled on the boy's lap, a deep, contented rumble emanating from her chest, her eyes half closed in pure bliss. The purr was a tangible thing, vibrating through the warm wood of the porch, a sound of absolute, hard-won peace. The journey, the fear, the miles, all dissolved in this golden moment. I finished my tea, the sweet tang sharp on my tongue. Standing to leave, the mother pressed a folded bill into my hand, her eyes still bright with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, the words thick. "Thank you for bringing her home." Back in the car, the scent of old fries and damp cat fur mingled strangely. The Uber app chimed. It wasn't a new fare notification. It was a rating notification. 5 shining stars. And under the feedback section, typed by a grateful mother, were 3 simple words: "Best fare ever." Below it, a photo she must have taken. Sienna's ginger paw resting possessively on the sleeping boy's arm. I smiled, a deep warmth spreading through me despite the exhaustion. I pulled out my phone, opened the app, and added one final touch to the completed trip details. Right there, next to the 5 stars, I uploaded a tiny digital doodle, a single, perfect paw print. The engine started. I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The blue door was closed. Somewhere behind it, a boy and his cat were finally, truly, home. I shifted into drive. The road ahead was just a road again, but it felt different, lighter. Sienna hadn't just found her family. She'd reminded me that sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin with a pair of glowing eyes in the dark, and a destination written not on any map, but in an animal's unshakable heart.